Hi everyone, and welcome to Watercolors with Jaylene. And this is the first video of the 2023 year. Happy New Year to everyone. And for today's tutorial, I am going to do a couple of bright and cheery, we could call them Valentine cards or summary cards. I just had to do something bright and fun after doing all of the wonderful Christmas tutorials that I had done. So I do have these two cute little cards that we'll be working on today. And to get started with everything, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you like the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, and I would appreciate that. So real quick to get started, we'll go over the supplies for today. It's pretty basic. There's only 3 colors that I'm using, and I do have my greeting cards, and the card stock is a 5.5 by 4 card that I buy at the local craft store, and they do have matching envelopes. And then the solid color background paper is 4.5 by 3.5, and then just some watercolor paper, little scraps that you have around you can use for the flowers themselves. So, and then I do have my white gel pen. I also have my black Micron pen. This is an 03 nib, but any size nib of course will work. I have scissors, and for my brush today I am using a number 6 round brush. So I have my clean water towel, some double-sided tape, and the 3 colors that I'm using today are they're all on from Grumbacher. The red is a Thalo Crimson pink or red, and then I do have my Cadmium Orange, and then for the green I'm using a Chromium Oxide green. So I do have my 3 basic watercolors here, and they're on my little palette here, and I'll be mixing a little bit of the orange and the red together to come up with just a little muted color for the one set of flowers. So I'm going to set these aside, and the way that I am starting this is just on one piece of paper. I will paint one set of flowers on one side, the other set on the other side, and then of course cut them out accordingly. So to get started, we'll start with these flowers, and so to do that I do mix up just a little bit of the orange, because I don't want it to be a strict or straight orange color. So I'm mixing that with a little bit of the red. And it obviously takes much less of the red. So let's see if we can maybe go like this. Okay, I think that's a good mixture. So for these flowers, it's very basic. It's just 5 teardrop shape petals. And I've mentioned before in other videos that I do like to always do odd numbers. So that's why I have the 5 instead of 4 or 6. And so that was kind of a lot on that one. So for the next flower, I want to do it just a little bit lighter. And for this one, I'm going to do it a little off center. And also 3 flowers, so you keep it in that odd number. So just real quick teardrop shape. They don't have to be perfect. As I always say, you know, flowers out in nature are never perfect. They're always a little imperfect. Perfectly imperfect. Okay, and then like this one, you'll see I'm kind of overlapping a little bit. I overlapped that one, and I did that on purpose. I do want them to overlap a bit. And so before I add the center color to those, I do want them to be fairly dry. I don't want the colors to blend. A lot of times I will put the centers in while the petals are still a little bit damp so that they can blend in a little bit and have a really nice look. But for this particular flower, I don't want that. I want it to be very distinct. So while I'm kind of letting those dry for a minute, I'm going to load up my brush with the green. And for the green, I am just using a straight green. And with the very tip of my brush, I'm drawing a stem. Have the stems come down on all three. Have them come down through. And so for the leaves on this, we're doing just a kind of like a little bit of an abstract leaf. I'm just doing kind of a scribble in. I just want a little less paint on my brush. All right. Kind of add in just a little greenery here and there, not a lot. Maybe a little bit more there and coming up there. And I think I'll even have just a little bit. No, I think that's good. Okay, I don't want to overdo it with the greenery. A lot of times it is nice to have, you know, quite a bit of greenery, but I want to keep that at a minimum with this because it is a pretty basic design that we'll be cutting out. So I do believe that the petals are dry enough now that I'm going to take just a little bit of my red and just on the tip of my brush, I'm going to dab a little circle into the middle of each of these. Okay, so now that those are pretty much done, the green is still wet, so very carefully what I am going to do with my micron marker, let's move this aside for a minute. So now I just want to outline my petals. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it's a little imperfect, that's even better. And so you can see with, I'll show you what I'm doing with this one. In fact, let's go like this, just so you can kind of get an idea of how that's overlapping. And then just draw a couple little lines in the middle. And then for these petals, go ahead and outline them. And then just a couple little lines towards the middle. And we want it to be a real loose, easy design, kind of whimsical, if you will. Keep it easy. There. And that one is pretty much done. That's just how quick and easy that is. So while that one's drying, we will be painting in the other one. And the other flowers are a little bit more dainty. And you'll see on this one that I do like to let that center kind of blend in a little bit. Okay, so, and we're using the same colors, same size brush. Let me get my water back over here. And so for these flowers, the same thing, I do want to have a little bit of a mixture of the two colors. And on this, I want it to be just not quite as bold. So let me get just a little bit more of the orange in there. And so for this one, I do want the petals to have just a little more of a, kind of a loose and airy look to them. And with these, you can see I'm having the petals touch a little bit. And they're just a little more whimsical. And this one probably is a little more loose around the edges than the original one I painted, and that's okay. So for this flower, the second flower, I am doing more of an orange tint to the color. Okay, and we want there. You can see how I'm just kind of, doing some rough strokes up through there. And then for the third flower, kind of have those overlapping, and that's exactly how I wanted it. So with these petals still being a little bit wet, they aren't totally dry yet. So now I want to go into the center and just kind of real lightly with the tip of my brush and just the red paint, I'm going to kind of dab in, and you can see where they're going to blend up into the flower just a little bit. And as I dab these, I do want to leave a little bit of white space in there. I don't want it to be solid like these are solid. I want a little bit of white to show in there. Now this one may have dried more, so it may not blend as much, and that's okay. Okay. So that is pretty much it for those flowers. And you can see this is really quick and easy. It's a lot of fun. And they make such cute cards. So now for the stems and leaves on this one, I am going to use not quite as much paint on my brush. I want it to be just a little more water included in the paint because I want it to be lighter. So very lightly with the tip of my brush, I'm just bringing in these stems. Okay, and then for the leaves on this, it's just a little more defined of a leaf, I guess you could say, not quite as abstract as these. And you can see how much lighter the leaves are that I'm painting on here. Okay. All right, and I think that it pretty much does it. I don't really want to overdo those leaves too awfully much. With the leaves, it's always best to do like maybe 1 or 2 strokes, and however it turns out, just leave it like that. You don't want to overdo it too awfully much. Now I do want to put just a little bit more of a stem there. Okay, and so now the petals on these are dry as well, and I do want to just do a little bit of a definition on the interior, or towards the middle of these as well, and it's just going to be very, very, very brief. Let me get just a little bit of red on there so we can see it a little bit more. I'm trying to do a mixture of the red and the orange. And we don't want to do much, just a very small amount. Sometimes less is more. Okay, so that's really that's pretty much it. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut these flowers out so that we can mount them onto the solid color background paper. And so with my scissors, I have a very small pair of scissors. And you want to make sure that these are dry before you start cutting. Probably should check that. Look pretty good. And then as you're cutting these out, we want to just kind of do very loosely around the edges of these and leave some of the white. Just kind of I keep pulling it out of the camera. I apologize for that. Okay, so and then as I cut this, I do want to, keep it pretty loose around the edges. However, I don't want, I want to make sure that everything is rounded, that there's no straight edges anywhere. These are just so cute. You could use any colors. I'm using oranges and pinks, but if you wanted to use, you know, reds and even some, whoops, I got a little too close on that. Don't do that. If you wanted to use some yellows, yellows are always such a fun, bright color. Okay, so there's that one. And then, let me move this over to the side. So then for this one, we'll cut around this as well. I just want to get some of the big areas off of there. So see how I kind of brought that to a little bit of a point? I want to round that off a little bit. And there again, I got a little too close. So try not to do that. If you do, it's not the end of the world. They still look adorable. However, that's not what I was going for. I think I keep pulling this out of your view. And I'm just doing it real quick. I'm sure when you're working on this, you take a little more time and care. Yeah, so you could use any colors you want. I just kind of chose these. I was ready for something fun. And I may put a little bit of a saying on the inside of these for Valentine's Day. I'm not sure. I'll put them in with my inventory of cards and see what I end up doing with them. So I have these two little designs cut out. And now for my background paper, I am going to take my white gel pen, and I like to put just a real easy basic frame around these. It kind of adds just a little bit of a nice finishing detail. And with this also, you could, you know, do really anything you want. On a lot of my cards, and you would see in some of my past videos, be sure to go and check them out. There's some really cute ideas that I have, you know, on some of these previous videos. But I use a black pen and put a frame on many of my cards also. So even on these, a black, especially with the black outlines on the one set of flowers, that'd be cute to use a black pen on here. And also on many of my here, in fact, I think we'll give that a try. We'll do a little black frame on this one. And you'll notice in a lot of my previous videos that I love my glitter glue, the iridescent glitter glue, that many times I will, you know, go around the edges and add that. It does really make a nice finishing detail on cards. It's hard to see that the glue and the effect that it has on video, but in real life, if you gave it a try, I think you'd really enjoy it. I won't be using that today, just putting it out there for you. You can see there's, I'm just kind of drawing that in real quick, not using any type of tool to make sure that it's perfectly straight. Okay, so for this one, as I mentioned, see, that gives it a whole different look than with the white. So I really like it with the black, actually. I hope you can see both of those. So, okay, so we'll work on this one first. So with my greeting card, my folded greeting card, what I'm going to do is take some double-sided, this is a foam tape. And I like to use the foam tape because it gives it some depth. So I'm cutting this in half. I cut one little chunk and then I cut it in half just because this is so narrow. So with this, and if you wanted to use just, let me put it down on here. If you wanted to use just regular double-sided tape, that works also. In fact, I'll be using that to put the other portion, put this onto the card. But to put this on here, I just kind of eyeball it, you know, for the center. And see, that gives it such a nice look with that raised look up, or, you know, with the raised panel of it. So now with my flat double-sided tape, I'll just put a quick piece here and one on the bottom. And then just center this. Just kind of eyeball it, center it, and there, that's complete. It's so cute, right? You all have to agree on that one. So that's adorable. And we'll set that aside. And now for the next one, I'll get my other greeting card out. And with this one, I will use the other side of that piece of double-sided tape that I cut in half. I think sometimes you can buy this. It is a little bit thinner, so you don't have to cut it in half. But I was afraid because this is so narrow that it might stick out. The tape might stick out from behind there. Okay, so we have that in the center. And then just put a couple pieces of the double-sided tape on here. And then, so if you're enjoying this, be sure to subscribe to my channel, because now that we're heading towards spring, well, kind of heading towards spring anyway, I'm going to be doing a lot more of my cards. I had kind of gotten away from them a little bit, but I do want to get back to doing my cards. And so for this one, we center it, and that is the completed card. So there we have the two. They were so quick and easy and a lot of fun to do. And as I mentioned, I will be, bringing on some more ideas. I like to do a lot of the quick, easy, yet cute designs that we can put on cards. I think I'm going to be working on some abstract designs coming up in the near future as well. I have a couple ideas rolling around in my head, and I really want to get them onto paper and into videos for all of you. So this is the end of this video for the two cute little greeting cards. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and be sure to hit the bell so anytime I do have a new video coming out, you'll be notified. And until next time, ciao for now.